Hi, my name is Dr. Padilla. On this channel, we talk about all things data visualization in R. Today is Featured Function Friday, and we are going to be talking about the function facet wrap. Facet wrap is really cool in the sense that it allows you to plot several graphs side by side if they have the same or similar types of X and Y axes. It is very useful if you want to make a visualization easier to read if all of the variables are kind of stacked up on top of each other, if you've layered many different channels. So it's a very useful technique and it will help you declutter your visualization. So let's jump right in. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load the package ggplot2. Once we have that loaded, we are going to run this code I have that will create a data set that we will use. And this code will be in the description, so you don't have to type it out, you can just copy it from the description. And this is going to give us a data set that has two values in the column, and it has a grouping variable. We have groups A, B, and C. Now, if you were just to look at this data set and look at values 1 and 2, you might be able to find some patterns, but ultimately we need to visualize this data to look at the differences between how values 1 and 2 vary across groups A, B, and C. It's almost impossible to do visually in a table like this. So the first thing that we'll generally do when we are starting a new visualization project, a new analysis of a data set, is to simply visualize some component of it. We have continuous variables. We can see that these are numeric for values 1 and 2 here. And so an easy thing to do when you're looking at two variables is to do a scatter plot. So we'll make a ggplot here that specifies the data frame, which is df, that's right here. Our x value, which is in the aesthetics function, is going to be value 1. The y value will be value 2. Pretty straightforward. And then we're going to color the dots. And we're going to add a fill that we'll use in just a little bit, and we'll color it by the group so that the group A, B, and C have different colors. Pretty cool. So before I add this little bit in, I think we should just start by adding a geom point, which will make a scatter plot. And this is a function that is theme black and white, which just makes a nicer theme. So if we run this little bit, we get this very simple little plot here where we have value 2 on the Y, value 1 on the X, and it's color-coded the dots by each group. So if you look at this, what you'd want to start to do is try to find patterns. See if you can just visually look at the dots and see if you can group them together in such a way that it would tell you useful information about the different groups. And maybe you could do that here. Maybe you could see that there seems to be a lot of variability for the C group, but ultimately we want to do a little bit more with this visualization to help us understand the relationships between this value 1, value 2, and the different groups. So one thing we can do is we can add geom smooth. Now geom smooth, what it will do is it will add a line, a best fit line for each group, because we have this broken down by groups. And if we just run a geom smooth like this, we get these crazy lines, these curvy lines, and they're just meant to make a line that best fits the data. Now, if we do what I had earlier, which is having this method lm, what it is a linear model. So it will calculate a linear regression equation for each of these groups and draw a nice straight line so that you can see if the general trend using this notion of regression is going up, down, staying the same, etc. And the bands are showing you 95% confidence intervals, which are very useful. Now, this is still a little messy, but we can start to see some trends here. We can see that C is in fact quite a bit more variability in terms of the spread of this band here. A seems to be a little bit more condensed. There's not as much variability. A seems to be going up, B and C seem to be going down. So we can kind of get some general trends going on here. What you might be inclined to do is to remove the error bars, linear regression equation. You could do that like this. You would say standard error equals false, and this is within the function of geom smooth. And you can just see the straight lines. Now, a lot of people will want to visualize the data using this approach, where they just want to see the direction of the linear regression equations. It is useful to see it this way, and it can seem very clear, But what it's not doing is showing you the uncertainty. So in some ways, it's less transparent in terms of the spread. It might make you artificially think that the only differences between these three groups is that A is going up or kind of flat, B is kind of going down and flat, and C is down, mostly downward. So we really do want to show those confidence intervals to at least get a sense of the uncertainty that is quite different across these different groups. So this is the place where facet wrap, the featured function for today, comes in. And what facet wrap can allow us to do is to break up that previous graph by the different groups. So we could just run this part of the code, which is what we had above, and we have those A, B, and C grouped up on each other. And if we add just the function here, facet wrap, and we break it down by the group A, B, and C, what it will do is have different plots for A, B, and C. Well, all we did was add this one function in this ggplot infrastructure here. So this is pretty cool. It makes it much more visually apparent that A is kind of going upward, has little variability, B, more variability, kind of going downward, and C, lots of variability and headed downward. So this is a way of showing all of the relationships that we had previously, but in a clear fashion. And there's quite a bit of empirical research in data visualization that indicates that we can easily and effectively compare these, which is great. So if you want to stop the video here, that's fine. I want to go on to show you a few more methods that I often see students doing to create the same effect. And I want to use those as an illustration to describe to you why you should try to use facet wrap when you can. So the other approaches include making these plots manually and then putting them together. So what that would look like is potentially using another library, dplyr in this case. And this is generally what you see people do when they don't know about the function facet wrap. What they end up wanting to do is they take the data frame and then they are going to filter for each group and essentially make individual plots for group A, group B, and group C. This is how you would do it in R. You do a filter. This is a pipe function that is sending the information from this data frame down into this filter, and then we're piping it down again into our ggplot. And I'll do a whole video tutorial on all of these little bits. This is mostly just to illustrate the point of why facet wrap is good in comparison to this approach. But you could do other things, like you could, in Excel, you can literally copy over the part of the data that you want to visualize if you just want to visualize group A. So essentially, you see people do something like this, where they've filtered out and they're just focusing on group A, and they would plot it like this, and I color coded it so we could keep it straight. And they would do the same thing where they're just going to visualize group B, and it would look like this, okay? And then they'd visualize just group C, and it would look like this, okay? Fine, fair enough. Maybe in Photoshop or Illustrator or PowerPoint, they would then put the plots next to each other. Well, we can do that in R with a very simple little function called grid arrange, and this requires another package called grid extra. But what grid arrange does is it just simply sticks the plots together. We saved out plot A, B, and C, and I'm putting it in a 3-column arrangement, which you can see here, A, B, and C. So that you see people do this, and I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and then we can compare it to what we got with the facet wrap approach. So here is the version where we made each of these by hand, and here's the version with facet wrap. I want you to take a moment to compare the two. See if you notice any differences. You know, one of the first things I'll point out is that the one on the right looks quite a bit different. Why could that be? Well, the Y and X axes for each of these plots are different. In ggplot, what happens if you do not specify the X and Y axes, the plot itself will try to fill up the space. And in these cases, group A, the data for group A, fills up a different amount of space than group B, than group C. And so it automatically makes these Y and X axes values for you, or the end caps. Whereas with facet wrap, it made sure they were all the same. So that means that the group A takes up a smaller part of the overall frame than B and C. And C kind of has the biggest range, so it dictates the y-axis interval here. But that's really useful if we're comparing across these different groups, because that would let us know that the slope of A is much smaller but upward than this very steep downward slope of group C. You wouldn't really be able to tell that A has a flatter slope than C in this version here. So ultimately, when you place these plots next to each other and they don't have the same axes, they artificially imply things that are not true relationships in the data, and that is against one of our primary visualization principles, which is expressiveness, and that is to represent all of the relationships in the data and only the relationships in the data. What we have going on here is a visualization that is showing relationships that are not there. This is not as steep upward trend as this is a steep downward trend, unfortunately. Okay, so what would you do in R if you wanted to be obstinate and still wanted to do this kind of approach where you made each plot individually but maybe do it more correctly? What you see people do and what you've probably thought yourself is, hey, why don't we just specify the X and Y axes, make them the same across these groups? Okay, cool. Let's try that approach. Okay, so in this version, it's exact same plot as above, but I specified the X limb and the Y limb for this from -6 to 6 and -2 to 2. And basically, I did that by just kind of eyeballing where the highest and lowest values were. Okay, so let's make those same approach as we have before. Okay, that looks to be a little bit better. We'll make another one of these and another one of these. Okay, and we will combine them. Excellent. Okay, let's take a screenshot of this and we will compare again. Let's look at these and think about them. Do they look the same? Do they look different? Ideally, we want these plots, these kind of hand broken apart plots, to be the exact same as these ones over here. So there's some black dots. We could make those colored. I didn't in this case. But what else? What else is different? Look at the slope of this. Now it seems to be a flat slope compared to the steep downward slope. And what's going on here? If you watch the video about specifying your axes, you would know that the particular function that we used, xlim and ylim, I'll go back down to it here, xlim and ylim, what they do is that if your data values fall outside of those limits, they cut them off, they truncate them. And in a regression equation like this, it actually changes the regression equation. So in order to maintain the true slope, you can't use a function like xlim or ylim, or you'd have to do some modifications to it. You in fact would have to use chord Cartesian, and chord Cartesian is a function where you could specify the ylim and the xlim, and it doesn't truncate information. Okay, so what we have to do to get this right is we'd have to run essentially same thing, but with chord Cartesian instead, with the same limits, A, B, and C, and then combine those. Okay, I'll take a screenshot of this. We'll compare. And now we see plots that are pretty close. They're not perfectly identical, partly because the selected X and Y limb are just a hair different in this plot than this plot, but the regression equations are the same because no data was truncated, and all of the actual interior parts of the data are identical between these two. Now, I did this long-winded exercise to demonstrate to you how awesome facet wrap is, because it does all of those computations for you. You don't have to specify things by hand. You don't have to worry about if any information is being truncated. It just automatically computationally decides the best X and Y axes for you. So I'd encourage you to think about facet wrap if you want to take an approach where you're placing plots next to each other, because it's really a foolproof method to ensure that you can have easy and effective comparisons across groups. And that's basically it for facet wrap in R. As you could see, there were several different approaches to complete the same theoretical concept, which is to have plots side by side, and they each had pros and cons. The true benefit of facet wrap as a function is that it programmatically ensures that your x and y axes are the same, which can get you in trouble if you're manually specifying the plots, as I showed you in a few examples. If you want to learn more about data visualization in R, click that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.